they want to figure out, like, know what a deck is about? I would.
You should start thinking about it now.
Yeah. You know, it should be. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Let me get myself oriented here. All right. Welcome. Just a final note, volunteering. Our last Ronald McDonald is going to be next Tuesday. It's a breakfast, so it'll be from 7 to 10 a.m. And I put the address up here just in case if you need it. And then just make sure to wear either your Creighton polo or your Creighton t-shirt. Since we're out in the community, we just want to represent Creighton. So that is next Tuesday. I will have Mandy send out an email about Power Punch Parkinson's. I know they changed their times, and I believe now they're doing classes only on Saturdays from 9 to 10:30. So if that is something that you still need to get your hours, that is available to you as well. But we will send an email out with that information. For Dean's reimbursement, or just reimbursement. So for those of you guys who went to conference, the money from our Chipotle fundraiser that we did last semester is going to be, it's being mailed to Catherine, and you guys will each have individual checks. So when Catherine gets those, she will distribute them. I have cash from our yard sale fundraiser that we did last semester as well, and I unfortunately did not bring it today, but I will definitely bring it next week, and I will have it. So, and for OT ones, I can give it to Catherine as well to help you guys in case I don't see you. And then your Dean's reimbursement, they are just going to have to check through that all the members, attended all meetings, they went to the lunch, they got all their hours. And since you guys still have a few more weeks to get your hours done, you likely won't see those reimbursement checks until June. So hopefully they'll send me an email on exactly when they are going to mail them out. But for right now, the treasurer said you probably won't get them until June. So just be on the lookout for those. This was something that the campus class had posted. It is a scholarship through AOTA. Sorry, Nephi, it's only for female applicants, but it's the deadline is coming up soon. But I just wanted to let you guys know, and it's only open to female applicants. I think they're giving away 3 scholarships, and they're each for $2,500. And you can find the link there. It looked pretty simple, pretty basic, but yeah, if you guys are interested in applying for another scholarship. And then congratulations to our new executive team. Brianna's the only one here right now, but she'll be your new secretary next year. And then Caitlin will be your president, and Katie will be the vice president. And then Sam Kelly will be the OTAC representative. And then I believe Catherine's going to stay on as treasurer, or they may choose a new incoming OT1 to be treasurer. So stay tuned, but congratulations. They will actually be running next month's meeting, so should be exciting. Right.
Alrighty. We have some exciting OTAC happy hour / just events in general. So tomorrow there is a happy hour at Avanti for OT month. We hope you guys can all come. It should be a good time. I think it's a great opportunity to just meet OTs in the area if you're still looking, if you're interested in a potential deck still and don't have that figured out and you need to meet an OT. I think it's a great opportunity. There'll be quite a few people there again at Avanti at 5:30 tomorrow. And then OTAC is hosting a Rockies game. There's limited tickets, so if you haven't purchased your ticket, do so. They're $13 and you have to purchase it through OTAC's website. So there's a link on OTAC's website. You click on it and you just pay there, and then you can pick up your ticket at will call the day of the game. So I already got my ticket, so if anyone's going and want to come.
Yeah, I have a question about that. Is it they have a section, and so do you get, when you buy a ticket, do you get assigned seats somewhere? Okay.
Yeah, so you'll be in a section. I think it'll be a general section, so if you want to buy someone specific, maybe you can shift around.
You can move around.
I don't think it's gonna be. It's really close to the rooftop, so I envision some people will just be sitting and standing up near the rooftop. Because I believe they said it's the seats underneath the rooftop.
Okay.
So I don't know, something. And then OT2's OTAC is coming between labs the 26th. They're gonna bring a cake and just congratulate us and sending us off. Unless you want something different, you can maybe try this some pizza. I don't know what the budget allows for.
Isn't it on the 19th?
No, we switched it to the 26th because we're potentially going to get Craig That's why I emailed you and got the new parking pass.
Oh, good, so we got something.
You're good. No, you're good, yeah. We're set, I think, on everything, unless you have something.
No.
We do, yeah, we had it crammed in between labs because we don't, next week we're potentially gonna be at Craig, so we would still leave in the afternoon.
And we have the focus group.
And then we have a focus group afterwards.
And then the following week we have the CPR.
So yeah, following week afterwards we have a CPR. Before this though, we are off site for pediatric lab, so we'll have to get back in time. That's why 12:15 and hoping. Dr. Rogge said we should be done by like 11:20-ish. So that should give us everyone enough time hopefully to go grab lunch and get back. So if for some reason we do end up doing pizza or something, then no, we have to bring lunch. But I'll see what OTAC has. So, I have some exciting state conference news hot off the presses. Conference is going to be September 29th and 30th. I just got a text message from the conference chair. It will be in Colorado Springs at Great Wolf Lodge. Might be something to put in the, doesn't have up there, to send out to people for the
in the email.
Yeah, very, very exciting. Last year they did have it like some things on Thursday, so I mean, but it'll be that weekend, which is exciting. I think hopefully for some of us OT2s who are planning on coming back to present or anything, hopefully we can get those dates to our CIs and maybe they'll let us come. So additionally with state conference, I've been in communication with Dr. Holm, some people with OSA and Dr. Bayer, and I proposed to Dr. Bradbury or Dean Bradbury an opportunity to have some reimbursement for conference because conference is super expensive. I originally we just were in conversation, and anyway, they're going to set up something similar to what they do at AOTA where you get a reimbursement. They're now going to reimburse for state conference up to $75. So I don't know if like there'll be volunteering hours or what, but it'll go through like CUSOTA just like they do for AOTA, which is really exciting. I know conference was really expensive last year, so hopefully that will help. So just something to look forward to and keep on your radar. Again, very new information. Since this is my last meeting here, I have a couple other things with OTAC to wrap up before I transition out. But if there are any concerns, any questions about OTAC or your membership or anything that you would like to have addressed, please let me know if you have anything now or questions or comments, anything. I can take those now. Otherwise, feel free to email me or text me, call, whatever. But just trying to still work on benefits for students. So
that's exciting.
Do you know why they switched conference to September out of October?
Between dates, I think it was getting difficult with homecomings. So like CSU homecomings, they had to keep track of that. I think they were kind of being mindful of ours. I'm not sure. It was.
We have a homecoming?
Well, like Creighton back.
Oh, I
mean,
was like,
technically
Regis?
students we could go back.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's much of an issue, but I think a lot of it was just they didn't have a big date. Like it was getting to crunch time, and the only dates available were this and potentially another.
Okay.
So that and like based on when you set up a conference, you have to send out like contracts and stuff. So if both parties don't match up, then it doesn't work. And so they didn't have very many contracts, I don't believe. So that's kind of, they were kind of limited, I think.
Got it.
So, but yeah, it'll be fun to have it in Colorado Springs because it was in Black Hawk last year and then it was in Thornton the year before. So yeah, but if there's any other questions about conference, I'm gonna hopefully try to go. I don't know if I'll be able to go both days, but yeah.
Cool.
So, or if you have any questions about OTAC stuff, I have a retreat where we're gonna like revamp a lot of stuff. So any comments and questions and concerns would be greatly appreciated.
Awesome. Thanks, Jill. All right. We'll have Rachel come up. As Mandy makes her grand entrance.
Just in time. This is all I wanted to see.
There you go. Yeah.
For those who don't know me, I'm Rachel. I'm from the campus cohort at Creighton, and I will be graduating in May. So part of my deck I was doing at a palliative care program here in Denver for pediatrics, which is currently an evolving practice area, but one that I'm very interested in and passionate about. So pediatric palliative care is now kind of called a supportive care. It's an approach that looks at quality of life as well as function in children and their families. So it's addressing a family unit based on a kid's life-threatening illness or their severe illness that they've been given. At Butterfly Program, they use the term life-limiting illness, just as it's something that, but obviously they might not live out of childhood. And so they really want to look at pain, the emotional, mental, and spiritual, if you will, parts of a child and of a family. So these are just some statistics. There are currently 10,000 children diagnosed with cancer each year. 53,000 children die in the United States each year from life-limiting illnesses, and then currently there's an estimated of 400,000 plus children in the U.S. that have some of these threatening, traumatic, chronic illnesses. And prior to death, these kids are obviously living a life that they're limited in their function, they're limited in their ability to access their environment, and as they progress, they currently change in their status, and so that changes in what they're able to do and how they're able to adapt, and typically their parents aren't sure what to do when they face kind of a setback or a regression in their illness. So currently the 5-year survival rate for children with cancer is 80%. So there's just this big window of kids who could be benefiting from services at the end of their life or nearing their end of their life that we as OTs could be addressing. So I'll send you guys this link just so that everybody has it. It's a little 7-minute video of some families talking about the Butterfly Program. It's a pretty powerful video. There's some girls with Friedreich's ataxia. There's a little girl with osteogenesis who I've actually seen in that before. And then a few other kids that they're just like faces that you'd think you'd see, because I think they're around in the community more than just that Butterfly Program. And so it's a very powerful video. There's one of a family, an interview of a family who had just lost a child, an interview of a family who's graduated Butterfly, and then an interview of a family that's currently in Butterfly. So it's just a cool perspective of all these families and how they've supported. So the Butterfly Program serves these children, and they really focus on quality of life. And their team is built of nursing, social work, chaplains, doctors, and then they have an art therapist and a music therapist. And they're not really interested in OT, so my goal was to really shadow and see what could OT be in this program. And they are a nonprofit, so everything's funded by donations. They get money for these kiddos to be on waivers when these services can't be covered by insurance, by the family. So it's really an incredible program that I would recommend seeking out if you're interested in it. But one thing I realized is some of these kids have the ability to be functional in certain things, but these professionals are just kind of doing it for them, helping them build their quality of life. I was with a little 6-year-old girl who had just had her arm amputated at the shoulder, and she doesn't know how to do anything one-handed, and she's not currently in other services. And so the art therapist is working and struggling through, well, let me get that glue stick for you, let me do this, let me do this. And to me, I'm like, she could do it, she could be independent in these things, and she would have a boost in confidence and in satisfaction and self-initiation of a lot of things. And so I just think as even a consultative model or a direct model, OT could be a really valuable piece at the Butterfly Program and other palliative cares. So OTs in palliative care would be really a part of an interdisciplinary team in providing services. Any side effects a kid has, any illness a kid has, it's going to affect how they do things. And so it's just a really interesting perspective. And a lot of research that's been completed in palliative care is on adults. But I think I looked into some different diagnoses that we also see in children, as well as some current research that's being done kind of looking at children. And what they found is just that functional outcomes are impacted by kids. And we as OTs can help kids find what's meaningful in life. We can find them discover how to do ADLs and IADLs at their age. And so there is a huge part that OT can play in this area. And so the research I found is really that most people were dissatisfied because they weren't having their functional everyday life things met. They were getting the medical care, they were getting chaplain's care, they were getting everything they needed, but they felt like they weren't getting enough to help them function every day. And so I think this is huge, and they even thought that the younger cancer survivors were feeling at a greater deficit than the older cancer survivors. And so those can be met through where our foundation is in mental health, as well as just in providing rehab services to get back into these different areas. And so this is an evolving area. There's a really cool website by it's one of my other resources. Maybe it's later. The CAPC, they're a Center for Palliative Care, and they have great resources for what's currently happening in pediatrics, and there's just a huge hole to fill in the gap of pediatric palliative care. There's no guidelines for palliative care for children. There are for adults, but when we think about an adult to a child, it's obviously different. The developmental span, the lifespan, the things they're engaged in. And so it would be incredible to have guidelines for a kid that hospitals can address, that community groups can address, because kids are primarily seeking resources in school, in the community, and at the hospital and at home. I know one of the girls I saw and shadowed at the butterfly program, her nurse was sick one day, and she had to be with the nurse all the time because of her disability, but because her nurse was sick at school, they didn't want her at school. So it's like, how can we really bridge this gap to try and provide resources so that kids can be participating in the things that they're qualified and able to participate in. Okay. So for us, I think it's just important to try and look at the gap for pediatric palliative care and see how can we examine what's going on and how can we kind of determine what the need is. I know some people are interested in pediatrics. A lot of people are interested in hospitals and things. And I think if you go into a hospital, you're always going to face some hard things with kiddos. And if you can have a foundation, even in training for palliative care, different quality of life assessments that we very briefly brushed the surface on in OT school, you can just go a long way in meeting kids and families where they're at. A lot of what you do in pediatrics is involving families and treating the unit and having them as part of your care team as they spend the significant amount of time with those children. So I think another valuable thing for OTs too is just finding things that they can do as a family or things that they can do together, because a lot of these families are at a loss, especially if their kid gets a traumatic brain injury or is suddenly in a wheelchair. They go through the same processes of dying, and so how can we help walk them through that based on what we know? And then I think there's if you look at the CAPC, there's pediatric palliative care in only certain states and only certain areas, but essentially 50% of everywhere has not even been reached. And so we have a big area that we could be looking at. And one of the limiting factors is physicians. They're very apprehensive about encouraging pediatric palliative care, about referring pediatric palliative care. And they're not really sure why that is, but there's 200 volunteers from the CAPC who have volunteered to essentially be advocates in fighting for getting coverage for these kiddos to get the services they need, because it's something that can't be covered by insurance if there's no physician referral or different things. And so they have a great vision. It's definitely very lofty, but I think it is possible. And I think if anybody's interested in pediatrics and interested in palliative care, it's a very valuable place that we could be able to get our foot in, even if it's in the realm of mental health or if it's in the realm of rehab and finding compensatory, more adaptive strategies for kids. So there's just really not, I think I found 3 articles that were like pediatric palliative care. The rest are just, or mostly websites, like articles, research being done, pretty much none, or from somewhere in the 90s looking at palliative care. And so definitely not something that everybody thinks about, but I was familiar with Butterfly Program when my grandmother was in hospice because it's a pair between Porter Hospice and Children's Hospital. They work together to provide it. And so it's really a cool thing, and I think kids are just as qualified to have quality of life as anybody else, and I think they can sometimes just be looked over. And that's something in the NICU too, since we talked about it in lab today. That is a huge piece, is quality of life for families and kids in the NICU, because a lot of times they have to deal with the grieving and dying process also. So that is what I have regarding that, but I do encourage you guys to watch the video. It's inspiring and really, really cool. So if you have any questions now or later, you can ask me and I can cover them, or if you have any other questions.
Did you find any information about other pediatric palliative care sites that did have occupational therapy, or is that not really a gap that's been bridged yet?
There are some. Sometimes they'll call them just supportive care teams, but so it's hard to know exactly what they entail. But I only came across a few. There are not very many now. It's more right now that OTs are fighting for how could we get ourselves in this position. But many teams are really based on social work, a chaplain, and a physician, and nursing. That's primarily what I have seen. And I think the social workers do great work based on what I've seen. They really do. They get in there. I just think we could have a valuable consultative model even of what's helped promote independence here.
Did you, because you did all this research and you obviously have your OT perspective on it, are you planning on giving any resources to the people at the Butterfly Program on how OT could be incorporated?
I am. They kind of have a wonky schedule, but I'll probably email them some resources that I have found and kind of give a brief write-up just because I won't be able to go to another meeting with them. So kind of to advocate that role.
Yeah.
And because it's something they were not interested in, just being very wary of that. But when I was at their meeting and I kind of explained where I come from in terms of value and quality of life and what we as OTs do, they were like, can we hire her? And I was like, that'd be nice. But I think they see good value, but I think part of it too is funding.
Yeah.
And part of it is a lot of these kids can get outside therapies. Mm-hmm. So why would you do that? So maybe it could be more of a, well, can the art therapist get in contact with the OT, and how can we work together as a team to meet all the needs and all the goals of different kids. So some of it might even be just giving ideas on that so that these kids can really benefit for the best. Because this little girl I talked about, she can't go to kindergarten yet until her blood levels are up and different things. So she's not going to have an opportunity for anything until she's well enough to do that. And so why not use the resources we have in these people's lives? So I am going to share it, but I don't know what
I think so. And then they'll do with it.
Yeah, it is. So, yeah.
As far as you mentioned you graduate from the program or whatever, how does that look? Is that just they've recovered from what traumatic injury they had, or how does that graduation process?
So usually it's when they become too old.
Too old.
So
there's an age cap.
21. That 21 age. They'll obviously treat a little longer to help that transition if needed.
Sure.
But it's typically still that same age range that we look at pediatrics, up to about 21, and then trying to find additional resources after that. Or maybe they've helped them, they give them a lot of resources, and they're more on the consultative call us if you need something. They'll always be in touch with them. They're very close unit. So, but from what I saw and understood, it's typically the 21.
Sure. So then they go to them wherever the kiddo is at versus them coming to a clinic.
Yeah, it's all home based, and they have a 30-mile radius. So they cover Westminster to somewhere.
Somewhere 30 miles away.
Somewhere south. But yeah, so they do all home visits. They go into homes, hospitals. I think those are the two primaries that I've seen.
And does the whole team come together, or is it like
No,
pieces
they
from the team and then they
pair
kind of meet
up.
together? Okay.
It's usually what I saw was nursing and social work, or just social work if the kid was. It depends on the frequency. Some kiddos get visits once a month, others every other week, and so it depends. And a lot of the nurses also work another job at Children's or somewhere else. So they kind of have it into those different units, but. And then the chaplain just does his own thing. So it's primarily social work and nursing, and then therapists go in on their own.
Oh.
So.
And then you said they have meetings, like interdisciplinary meetings
Once a month.
together as well? Okay.
And they recap, I think right now they have 35 kids they're following. So they recap all 35 kids and what they've done and talked about. I think it was like a 3.5 hour meeting. So, before. So it's pretty long, and it's sometimes it's like there's no update, but I mean, I also see that there are times there's not a need for an OT. I was at an end of life planning meeting for my very last one for a girl. They're just kind of waiting, and they've helped with the process, and now they're planning the funeral. So like I get it's not for everybody, but it would be a nice referral to have in different phases of.
Well, same with like the art therapist, music therapist.
Right,
like,
right.
They probably aren't needed for every single kid,
Exactly.
but for some.
Mm-hmm.
Even just like you said, to have consult services when applicable.
Would you see like if OT or in other situations where OT is on the team, do you see more of like a family education piece, or would it mostly just be like direct
I think there would have to be a lot of.
or provider? Yeah.
I mean, I think you could do your direct maybe like 30-minute visit, and then dedicate the last half to maybe education, because they're going to be spending the primary time with them, and then think about what you want to prioritize for like a music or art therapist to work on, or do I just want to go in with them and provide them ideas for how to facilitate? I think it would be
Co-treating between the two.
yeah, that would be really cool. So I think it's like anything, it's going to be education, home exercise, working that. But yeah. Cool. You guys didn't have any questions about Dex since you asked?
Well, I was just will you just kind of recap where you went for your level 2A and 2B for us?
Yes.
Okay.
I can.
And then we might just have some field work in general questions.
Okay, I'm just gonna show you guys that I actually have references. So I don't So for my level 2A, I went to Columbus, Nebraska, and I was an outpatient, primarily hands. But I saw everything. I would say like 75% of those hands-ish. And then my level 2B, I was in inpatient rehab at the University of Colorado Hospital, and Jill will be in acute there. And then down here. And what was the other question?
Well, I just think we might have like just general fieldwork questions,
Yeah.
and they may or may not relate to deck. But I personally wanted to ask you like, so like you obviously like did hands and inpatient rehab, and everybody's level 2s are going to be different. But do you have just like a piece of advice for us as we're getting ready for level 2s on like what you think was maybe like the best thing that you did, or something you wish you would have done, or just any kind of advice you have for
Like
us?
preparing?
Yeah, for preparing. And obviously we all have different settings, so you.
No. Yeah, that's fair. I think some of the things that I was like most caught off guard by probably are like manual muscle testing is one of them. We learn it in these certain positions, and I don't know about here how it's all set up, but we learn it in very specific positions, and then you go and you get somebody and it's like, oh shoot, like we can't really move you, or it would take 45 minutes to move you, and this is not going to happen because we have a full eval to cover or something. So I would say, I know this sounds really silly, if you have time practicing that on anybody and everybody you can get your hands on sometime, especially if you're in pediatrics, because that's a very different realm of things too, is small bodies who don't want to sit still, and it's like, they don't just listen to you, just do this. And they're like, okay, I'm done. But you don't really measure a lot in peds, or I haven't yet. But obviously there are situations you're going to. So I just think manual muscle testing is one thing. Another thing I would think about too is just structuring, like how you envision a treatment going maybe. So how long do you think you would want to build rapport with somebody? How long would you think an eval might take? How long? that way you kind of gather this flow of what you envision an eval or treatment session to be. Again, everywhere is different. I know I had classmates who did inpatient rehab and they did a maximum of 45-minute treats. Where I was, we did hour 15 to an hour 30. And so it was very long, and sometimes I was like, whoa, I still have 20 minutes and they're super tired. Like, so I don't know how much you know about that, but just thinking to yourself how you would kind of flow through different things. I think the biggest thing too is just asking questions. Like, especially the first week is primarily observation. Typically, they'll start getting ideas, incorporating you in, but really get to know their style. What do they like to do? How do they like you to ask questions? Should you ask them right there, or should you wait till after your session? Like, really basic things, but I think getting as much knowledge as you can in that first week is so important, because I realized after that you get busy and it's like you don't want to be treating somebody and be like, oh, should I be doing this? Like, think about how you want to ask those things. I'm trying to think of any other advice I would have. I think another thing, everybody documents differently, kind of getting a vibe for how people document, maybe why they do it that way, just based on what we know. That way it gives you an idea of how do I want to formulate things. I know my first one was kind of soapish, but we mixed the O and the A a lot. And then my next one was like, be as brief and nitty gritty as you can. Just people might have 2 minutes to read this, write it, and be done. And then this one is very soap. So it just really depends. See what they think. Why do they like that way? Just so that you can learn. It's like a huge learning opportunity. So take your opportunity to run with it and gather all that you want to know.
Did you feel prepared?
I did.
You did. Okay.
I have been with a lot of non-Creighton students, and I am very thankful for the education I have.
That's what everybody says, but since you're like fresh in your field,
I just think that Creighton goes above and beyond. I'm not saying that anywhere is bad. I just know that they go above and beyond to get us good learning opportunities, to teach us everything we have to know, especially like Dr. Blanchard's bids rehab thing that UOT2s are preparing for. Mm-hmm. I remember our class was like, are you kidding me? It's almost finals. But like, you go in and you're like, I have this many minutes. You write it up, you do your whole eval, and then it's like, look how much I know. I am ready for field work. And so it is a really reassuring thing that it's like, wow, I did that, you know? And so that's when I think I was like, okay, I'm ready. But you totally will be ready. And they know it's your level 2A. They don't expect you to be an entry level OT right away. So, and it just depends on who your FLED is and how they do supervision. But just be honest. If they ask you, do you think you're ready? Do you think you're not? Like, I just say, be clear and about those things with them. And I know I told you the discussions are another thing that seem really goofy, but I think they're very valuable too. Everybody in your discussion is in a similar practice area to you. Sometimes you might have a really hard patient or something going on, and it's really nice to work through those things and be able to know that some of my classmates are struggling with the same things I am, or these are some things and here's some new ideas I can take. Because I know I saw a guy who had a TBI 8 months before, but his tone was so bad and he was like so discouraged, and like, we were trying everything. We were trying to save Flex and all these different things, and then I was talking to somebody in my class and they just offered great new ideas. So I would say use your resources and professors too. I got my first guy with Pusher syndrome. What did I do? I emailed Dr. Blanchard. What else do you do? She loves that stuff. So I think just use your resources. Yeah. Yeah.
How did you prepare for like the presentations and like all the assignments that Creighton provides versus what maybe your site provided, or just like anything like that?
Yeah.
I'm
trying to think back to what they were. I think using your time wisely. Sometimes you have cancellations, and if you have to do like an in-service, I would usually use that time to help plan the in-service. That way I could use time at home to do everything else. I mean, you work long hours, you work long days, but in the end, it is worth it. So I would just say time management is important. Use any free time you have while you're on site, but also for Creighton, what do you have that summer? Just
Summer's just the field work.
Well, and then there's that, like, there's an online course that's like a few weeks, I think it's like an ethics.
for ethics, yeah.
I wanted to hear your
Ethics.
take about that class, because I heard about that course from the class above you, and they were hoping that like there would be like changes to that course.
I think there were changes
Okay.
from what I understood.
Was it not as bad maybe as the previous class had said?
I don't think so. We didn't write as many papers as they did.
Okay, It's
heard
like
there
a
was-
4-week class, right? Or how many weeks is it? 6 weeks?
4
4 weeks,
not
okay.
more than 4. I think
Yeah.
it's like 3.
Yeah, and it was,
It's pretty
Okay.
fast.
yeah, but they had to write like.
And you just have to do different like reflections and ethics, but it all applies to 2A and 2B.
Okay.
So it'll be like, think of a situation when. So if you have an ethical situation, make sure you jot that in your memory because you'll want to write about it later. Because I think each week you do, or every couple of days you do a writing about.
And who taught that for your class?
I think Dr. Sheridan and Dr. Blanchard.
Blanchard, okay.
Is that right?
I know Blanchard did the class above you, and then they were saying they were like in a
I
alternate.
never
so I
saw
wasn't sure.
her on my thing, so and she was there. She would post things, but and we didn't really have to watch anything. It's
Yeah,
pretty
it's-
self-directed.
Yeah.
There are a few group things if you want to do groups. So I had somebody in Colorado, and we got together and did our project and presentation together, which was nice. Or you can do it on the internet, but it was just easy to do it together.
Okay.
So that's pretty good. And I've recommended to people start studying and maybe even reading your NBCOT book during your 2A, because the expectations grow a little bit by 2B.
Okay.
That's just my recommendation. I had wished I read more. I read some, but because that's a big book.
Yeah.
And I also think it was nice to apply it to what I was doing. So if you're in like neuro right now, then start reading through the neuro stuff. It might help you.
Oh, that makes sense.
But-
Okay.
Those are my suggestions.
No, I greatly appreciate
Kind of a
it.
whirlwind, but it's really not too bad, truthfully. And the prep course is good for preparing you. So
Okay.
I would say enjoy it. It's your last bit. That's all I got. If I think of anything else, I'll be sure. But
Okay.
I just think it was really fun. Just make the most of what you can.
Field work overall go fast, like looking back on it now and being, or is like this last month, like
Yeah.
really slow because you're getting closer.
No, it goes really fast, actually. Some of my classmates felt like 12 weeks is too long. I thought it was fine. But they were like 8 weeks. I was like, I felt like I was just getting my groove. So I don't know. Not like just getting, but that's when they're really like freedom kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's my recommendations.
Perfect.
That's about how long it takes, really, 8 weeks for you to get your groove.
Yeah.
And then the 4 more weeks, you really feel confident.
Yeah,
That's what the work should do, set you up to feel confident.
Exactly.
Your practice abilities.
in that 8 weeks, that last 4 weeks, they're pretty much overseeing you. So
Yeah. You're sort of like, okay,
Yeah.
and
you have to remind yourself that you have to do that. Yeah. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. But thanks for letting me cover pediatric palliative care with you all. Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel.
Of course.
If you guys have any like super questions you want to
I don't know what I did to Kelly's.
You're fine.
I think you should get rotation hands, rehab, and then outpatient.
No, you're good. I'll just move that.
Okay. All right, so just last minute things here. If you're watching the meeting online today, password is Easter. So happy Easter weekend to everybody. Our next and last meeting actually of the semester is going to be on May 3rd, same time. We are going to have, I think it's on the next one. Dr. Raghi has graciously offered to come and give us interview tips. And she's also going to bring her friend Hannah, who is a physical therapist from Children's Hospital, and Mariah, I don't remember her last name, but she's the Pediatric Therapy Institute, where the OT2s did their sensory integration. So Dr. Raggi and Mariah own their own practices, and then Hannah does all the hiring for PTs at Children's Hospital. So they are all going to come and give us great like interviewing tips and just things to look for. Like you can ask about resumes, different things. So it'll obviously be really beneficial for all of us. So please come next month and with all your questions, and hopefully it'll be really great. And that's all I got for you guys. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can always ask me. But yeah, thanks for coming.
Way to go, officers back there.